I just want to preface this by saying that this is going to sound like a lesson for a 5-year-old, but apparently we need that sometimes, as the polls show. Polls meaning the blind discrimination still occurring in 2026. Which, am I surprised considering the state of the world? No. Disappointed? Yes. Let's just start with what makes the most sense from a logical stance, which is separating beliefs from actions. Everyone gather in a circle, crisscross applesauce, hands in your laps. Now say it with me. A person's religious beliefs or lack thereof does not tell you whether they are a bad or harmful person, or a danger to themselves or to others. Their behavior does. You know what many of us just won't do? Attack a religion as a whole, or claim that anyone who follows a different path from us is wrong, lost, possessed, misled, or going to hell, simply because they do not follow the path that we do. Because that would be insanely ignorant and disrespectful. So why do so many people feel okay doing that to others? To me, that's a huge sign that they had far too many sips from the dogma juice. If you ask me, it's a huge red flag for any person or group to claim to have all the answers. And you can't question or oppose their list of rules or ways of living. It's giving cult, and not in a good way. Write that down, kids. Obviously, I'm making jokes, but seriously? If you tell me from your mortal human lips that it's your way or the highway, I'm saying, how about no way? But I will collect seeds of knowledge from all walks of life. And I will have a connection to the divine because I believe that a part of it already exists within us naturally. And again, this is not some woke, new and original thought. Someone once reached out to me from this channel who is still actively fighting for their rights as a Satanist. This is a person who cares about the safety and well-being of people, but are still being targeted as a part of a religious minority by people who won't take the time to understand them and only want to incriminate and shut them down entirely. Just a total disregard for basic human rights. I've seen people who practice divination and mediumship just receive the most horrible, fear-instilling remarks from people who claim to know it all. You see it happen with artists who get demonized for doing something different. So the issue is what happens when you replace evidence or truth with fear. Like if a Christian abuses children, that's abuse and not Christianity as a whole. So if, for example, a Satanist hurts a child, that's abuse and not Satanism as a whole. Would you like a slime clip to help with focus? You see, I feel drawn to defend people who are misunderstood while also having no tolerance for abuse. And remember that control is the root of abuse. Write that down too, I'm actually not joking on that one. Let's briefly go over Satanic Panic in case you're not familiar with that history. The Satanic Panic generally refers to the widespread moral panic in the 1980s and early 1990s in North America and parts of Europe, where many people became convinced there were vast networks of secret satanic cults abusing children in daycare centers and communities.
Well, Terry, authorities tell us that the most serious or perhaps the most dangerous kind of devil worship comes in the form of underground cults. Most of them are very secretive, usually organizing clandestine rituals in the dark of night.
Investigations, prosecutions, and media coverage followed, but despite years of investigation, authorities never found evidence of a large organized conspiracy that had been alleged. For example, the infamous McMartin preschool case, where children were repeatedly interviewed using techniques that are now considered highly suggestive, aka basically coercing and persuading them into, quote, horrific stories including flying witches, animal sacrifices, and bizarre ritual abuse, to which years of investigations followed and no evidence was ever found. So no one was convicted, but as a result, the case did change how professionals look at interviewing children. Researchers later found that children can unintentionally incorporate suggestions from adults during repeated interviews. That is well supported. Then there's the case of the West Memphis 3, where 3 teenagers were convicted in Arkansas after 3 boys were murdered. Because one of them wore black, listened to heavy metal, and was interested in occult topics, Satanism became a huge part of the public narrative despite lack of evidence. And after years of appeals and DNA testing, the convictions eventually became deeply controversial. They eventually entered Alford plea and was released after 18 years in prison, and the murders remain unsolved. So that's years of their lives severely impacted due to stereotypes and a crooked system. That's how serious this is. As you know from other types of horrific cases happening in the world outside of religion. And while we're on the topic, let's briefly touch on modern Satanism, especially if it scares you and you low-key judge, because as we know, fear is pretty much the lack of knowledge. But what do I know? So, for education purposes, there is not one type of Satanism. Some people identify with theistic Satanism, where Satan is viewed as a realistic spiritual being, while others identify with atheistic or symbolic Satanism, where Satan represents rebellion against authoritarianism, personal autonomy, questioning dogma, or individual liberty rather than a literal deity. So let's just not lump them together. I'm sure there have probably been people who identify as Satanists who have committed horrible crimes, just like there have been Christians, atheists, Muslims, Buddhists, and people of virtually every worldview who have committed terrible crimes. The point is not to ask what label do they wear, but to ask what did they actually do. I'm just tired of seeing people get bullied and judged for no good reason, other than the fact that they don't fit someone else's mold. In case I didn't make it clear in this video, my goal here is not to defend whatever ideologies. It's to defend people from being unfairly dehumanized. And to put the message out there to have more love for people who are different from us. The moment someone abuses a child, manipulates vulnerable people, commits violence, or exploits others, it don't matter what religion they claim or their spiritual preferences, my guy. And on the other side of that coin, kids, are you still listening? Do you need another slime video? Got you. A person's spiritual preference does not give you the right to belittle, judge, or abuse them, because no human has all the answers. The best thing that we can do is to love, and to hopefully then come together to oppose the real evil in this world, which, hint, it is not the person in all black wearing a Baphomet shirt for their own personal liberation. It's not the person minding their business studying the occult for their passion of mysticism. And it's not the person who talks to spirits for their interest in the unknown. Thank you. Thank you. And if you have ever been unfairly judged, bullied, or alienated, I'm sorry. And just know that I, along with many others, do not judge you. We see you, we feel you, no matter how alone or how horrible it can feel at times. The world is better with you in it. I love you.